So we have Bola Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, making headlines with a bold move in the midst of his push for a second term. This time, it's all about securing the premature release of Ekweremadu, the former deputy Senate president who is currently serving a prison sentence in the UK for a high-profile organ trafficking case. Ekweremadu, along with his wife and a doctor, was convicted of conspiring to exploit a young man in the UK to remove one of his kidneys for their daughter. It's a chilling case, and now the Nigerian government seems to be working behind the scenes to bring Ekweremadu back to Nigeria. But why? What's the real reason behind this move? Well, some say it's a strategic play aimed at winning votes in the southeast, a region that didn't give Tinubu much support in the 2023 elections. Now, Tinubu is fighting for a second term, and it's clear that every region matters, especially the southeast. Tinubu, who got only a small fraction of the votes in that region during the last election, might see Ekweremadu's release as a way to win back the hearts and minds of voters in that area. The move to negotiate for Ekweremadu's release is raising eyebrows. Is this about justice, or is it just a political game? There's a lot of speculation about what's really going on. The Nigerian government has been sending out high-ranking officials like the Foreign Affairs Minister and the Attorney General to the UK to talk to authorities there. They are pushing for Ekweremadu to be transferred to Nigeria to serve out the remainder of his sentence. The key question now is, will the UK agree to it? The UK's legal system is stringent, especially when it comes to cases of modern slavery and organ trafficking. So it's unclear if the British government will be open to the idea of transferring a convicted criminal. On the other hand, the Nigerian government argues that Ekweremadu is a citizen and that he should serve his sentence in his home country, especially given his health and age. But let's not forget the politics here. Tinubu is working hard to solidify his position ahead of the 2027 elections. The Southeast has been a tough nut to crack for him, and the release of a high-profile figure like Ekweremadu might just be the kind of gesture that shifts voter sentiment in his favor. After all, Ekweremadu hails from Enugu, a state in the southeast. If the region sees that Tinubu is willing to intervene on his behalf, it might win him some much-needed support. But that doesn't mean everyone will see it that way. There's a real chance that people in the southeast might view this as a political maneuver, a tactic to use Ekweremadu's case for electoral gain, rather than a genuine attempt to right a wrong. And that's a risk Tinubu has to consider. He's been in the game long enough to know that these kinds of moves can backfire. If people start thinking that the government is willing to bend the rules just to get votes, it could seriously damage Tinubu's credibility. Now, let's talk about the wider implications. If Ekweremadu does get transferred to Nigeria, it will set a powerful precedent. For one, it could open the door for more high-profile Nigerians convicted abroad to have their sentences reduced or transferred back to Nigeria. That might sound good on the surface. After all, who doesn't want their country to stand by them when they're in trouble? But it also raises serious questions about the rule of law and accountability. Are we saying that the influential can avoid the full weight of the law just because they're connected or powerful? What message does it send when the government starts stepping in to reduce sentences for convicted criminals, especially in such high-profile cases? It's a delicate balance. There are also legal questions to consider. Does Ekweremadu have any chance of getting his sentence reduced, or is this more about moving him to a Nigerian prison? UK law doesn't make it easy for prisoners to be transferred to other countries, especially in cases involving serious crimes like organ trafficking. But there are options, like prisoner transfer agreements between countries. The Nigerian government will likely argue that Ekweremadu's health is at risk, given the conditions in the UK prison system. Whether or not that will be enough to sway the UK courts is still up in the air. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, the political fallout from this move could be significant. The opposition parties, especially those in the southeast, are likely to frame this as another example of Tinubu's desperate attempts to secure votes. They might say, why is he intervening in Ekweremadu's case now? And that's a fair question. Some will argue that Ekweremadu has already been convicted, and the government should respect the justice system, rather than trying to bypass it for political gain. Others will say, Ekweremadu is a citizen, and the government has a duty to protect its own. It's a deeply divisive issue that could spark heated debates across the country. And let's not forget that the broader context of this story is tied to the state of Nigerian politics, especially as we head into the 2027 elections. Tinubu's ability to deliver on key promises, like ensuring fair treatment for all regions, will be scrutinized. The Southeast, in particular, has felt sidelined in the past, and Tinubu knows that if he wants to win over that region, he needs to show he's committed to the issues. The release of Ekweremadu might just be one piece of that puzzle, but there are many more steps he'll have to take to prove he's serious about addressing the concerns of the Southeast. The Nigerian political scene is always in flux, and right now, Tinubu has some major decisions to make. The Southeast remains a crucial battleground. If we look at the way Nigerian politics has evolved, regions like the Southeast, South-South, and North-Central are extremely important in shaping the outcome of national elections. Tinubu's efforts to secure a second term are undeniably tied to winning over regions that didn't heavily support him in 2023. The Southeast, in particular, has been a key region where Tinubu's support was relatively weak. And, let's be real, no president can afford to ignore the political math of the Southeast. By intervening in Ekweremadu's case, Tinubu is not just playing to the emotions of the people from the Southeast. He's also showing that he's willing to go the extra mile to bring one of their own back home. It's a move that might resonate with the average voter, especially those who feel like the Southeast has long been marginalized in Nigerian politics. However, let's not forget that there's always a fine line between doing something for political gain and making a genuine difference. And for many, this move might be perceived as an opportunistic tactic to win votes, which could backfire if not done carefully. Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about the sour legal complexities surrounding Ekweremadu's case. This isn't just about politics, it's also about international law and the relationship between Nigeria and the UK. The UK, with its strict legal framework on human rights and criminal justice, isn't exactly known for being lenient when it comes to high-profile cases, especially one as serious as organ trafficking. Ekweremadu and his co-accused were convicted under the UK's Modern Slavery Act, a piece of legislation that is taken very seriously, particularly when it involves cases that could undermine the country's commitment to combating human trafficking. So, the idea of Ekweremadu being released early or transferred to Nigeria isn't as simple as just signing a few papers. It raises a host of diplomatic and legal questions. Is the Nigerian government going to push for a prisoner transfer agreement? How will the UK respond to this request? And if they refuse, how will the Nigerian government handle the situation? These are all questions that will likely unfold in the coming months, and the answers could have significant consequences, not only for Ekweremadu, but for Niger, if he sees Nigeria's international standing. In fact, this whole situation has the potential to set a dangerous precedent. If Ekweremadu is transferred or his sentence reduced, it could open the door for other powerful Nigerians who are facing serious charges abroad to seek the same kind of intervention. What message does this send about accountability? Are we telling the world that if you're politically influential or well-connected, you can avoid the consequences of your actions? The implications of this are far-reaching, especially when it comes to the integrity of Nigeria's legal system. But let's get back to the political angle. For a moment, if this move by Tinubu succeeds and Ekweremadu returns to Nigeria a free man, will that actually translate into votes in the Southeast? That's the million naira question. As we all know, Nigerian politics is highly transactional, and voters often look for tangible benefits. If they see this as a genuine act of goodwill from the president, it could strengthen Tinubu's standing in the Southeast, but it's far from guaranteed. There are still many factors at play, including the overall perception of his leadership, the state of the economy, and the region's relationship with his administration. On the flip side, if this move is seen as a political gimmick, Tinubu might risk further alienating the Southeast, especially if voters feel like they're being played. So this move is a calculated gamble, a high-risk, high-reward situation. Tinubu might be betting that Ekweremadu's release could help him flip the Southeast from a relatively hostile region into one of his allies. But if the people see it as a ploy to win their votes, it could end up backfiring. And Tinubu's approval ratings in the region might actually go down. So what's next in this story? Will Ekweremadu be released? And will this move benefit Tinubu in the long term? We can only wait and see. But what's clear is that this whole situation is far from over. The political ramifications are just beginning, and the decisions made over the next few months will have a major impact on the 2027 elections. The relationship between Nigeria and the UK and the way that Nigerians view their government's actions is definitely something to watch. Ultimately, the fate of Ekweremadu and the political consequences for Tinubu will depend on how this situation plays out in the coming months. Will the UK agree to the transfer? Will Ekweremadu return to Nigeria a free man? Or will he continue serving his sentence abroad? And will Tinubu's move pay off in the 2027 elections? One thing is for sure, the stakes are high and this story is far from over. So, what do you think? Is this move about justice or is it just political strategy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Ekweremadu should be allowed to serve his sentence in Nigeria, or should he face the full consequences of his actions in the UK? And how do you think this will affect Tinubu's chances in the next election? As always, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.